Hi there, my friends. You've finished your book. That's absolutely awesome. So, should you self-publish that or not? If you're keen on finding out or working out the pros and cons, then stick around and we'll have a chat about it. Hi there. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Lisa Oliver. If you want to find out what I do, where I am and everything else, please Google me, Lisa Oliver Author. And if you're feeling really game, then click on and go into Amazon and click Lisa Oliver again. You'll find out all that I do through there. Now, you're more interested in your book, aren't you? And with every good reason. You've finished your book. Yay, thumbs up. That is happy dance material, definitely. So proud of you. But what do you do with it now? Chances are your book has taken, if not months, well, probably definitely months to finish, and could be years. Hopefully not years, because you are going to want to write another one, but still, however long it's taken you, it's a huge accomplishment. And the first thing you should do is stop and appreciate that. Accept that moment. Wow, I've done something so many people in the population want to do, but they don't do it. They don't finish it. They might even start a book, but they don't finish it. They don't get to the end. And you did. So that is really cool. And now you don't know whether or not what you want it is that you want to do with it. As I've mentioned, just a little disclaimer, I am fully self-published. I have never gone through the traditional publisher route, and the only things I know about traditional publishing, I have read through articles and heard from authors who are traditionally published. But I have a bias towards self-publishing, although I'm going to try and be very fair about it in this video, because everybody has different needs. When I put my first book out, I didn't think anybody was going to read it. There was no point in me submitting it to a publisher or anything else, because it clearly wasn't going to be good enough. Nobody was ever going to read it. I felt absolutely mortified that I'd even written it, because, you know, it was imposter syndrome in capital letters, it really was. And believe me, that's a common author thing, you'll get used to it. But so for me, Kindle at the time hadn't been out very long, and I had ghost written as a way of making money when my kids were smaller. So I already knew that people could put books up on Amazon all by themselves, and it was like, whoa, well, why can't I? So that was why, so for me, self-publishing was a natural step. But people want to be published for different things, for different reasons. I probably couldn't tell you all of the reasons why I went into self-publishing. It was more that I had a fear of traditional publishing, and I'm quite upfront about that. You know, I didn't want people ridiculing me. I didn't feel confident enough in what I had written to, approach approach an agent or go through, approach traditional publishing houses. But the thing was that my genre didn't lend itself to traditional publishing either, because I write paranormal romances. So, of course, there isn't like one of the big 5 publishers isn't going to look at a book like mine. It's not, I don't write literary content, I write stories. And I'm just extremely blessed that I have a number of readers that like my stories. But back to you and your book. Your genre is going to play a part in this. Is the book you've written something that's going to fit easily into a traditional publishing house's submission guidelines? Now, if you're not sure, go on to Google, type them up, look for submission guidelines in your genre, because that's really important. If you can find a publishing, when you find these submission guidelines, and a lot of publishing houses do have them online, then go through them and be honest. does your book fit what you're there looking for? Because if it doesn't fit what they're looking for exactly, then there's no point in sending it to them. You're just going to waste their time and yours. But it could be that your book does fit. A number of wider houses, like I'm thinking of like in the romance genre and things like that in particular, they have different themes that they put out at different times of the year and what have you. And you can, it could be that what you've written will fit in with what, whatever it is they're doing. But check it and be honest with it. And if you're in an instance where your book crosses a lot of genres, then be honest about that too. How can I say this without you taking offense? It's really awesome that you've done that, but a publishing house isn't going to drop their standards and their submission guidelines to fit around your work. Unless you are someone famous who has a huge following on social media, they don't care. So be realistic about what your book is and where it fits. And one of the great things, and I think this is why indie publishing started in the first place, was because it doesn't matter what your genre is if you indie publish, because you've got control over it. You don't have to change it. You don't have to conform to somebody else's rigid parameters about what's acceptable to their readers or not. So you can just put it up anyway. But yeah, you're going to have to get that genre system sorted out, because Amazon's going to want to know where you think your book fits as well. And you don't want to go upsetting, your potential readers, whether you're traditionally published or self-published, by misgenring a book. Another difference is the timeline. And I can only speak in general, really broad terms here. But from what I understand, there is a lot of time it might take to find an agent, and then it would take a lot of time for that agent to package your book in a way that might be acceptable to a publisher. And then there's a length of time that it takes for the publisher to get back to you, which is going to be framed more likely in months than weeks. And then even if it is accepted, that book, because they schedule out their new releases so far in advance, your book might not come out for 2 years after they have accepted it. So there is that issue. And of course, on the other side of the coin with indie publishing, when I finished my book and finished the edits, and I'd already had my cover done and everything else, my book was up on Amazon the next day, because I control that factor with my own work. So that's another difference. And that is something else there too. Now, when, a lot of people say, oh, but self-publishing is such hard work, because you have to find editors. And then you have to do your own edits. You have to create your own cover. You have to create your own promotional graphics. You have to do your marketing yourself. Although, incidentally, apparently now, a lot of the smaller publishers, traditional publishers, are not taking on people unless they have the platforms to do their own marketing, because they just don't have the budgets for marketing anymore. But that's just an aside. So yes, when you are indie publishing, you have to do these things yourself. And for somebody new, a new writer, that can seem daunting, but it isn't. There is actually a number of different videos on this channel that will help you out with little things like making a cover or how to find editors and things like that. So it's not actually as hard as it sounds, but it is time consuming. However, if you go through the traditional publishing side of things, in terms of edits, they will assign an editor to you. And it could be that your book may have to be rewritten in parts 2 or 3 times to fit more snugly within their submission guidelines, the company's submission guidelines. When I get a publisher, or when I get an editor rather, my editor is looking for words I've got wrong, names I've got wrong, commas I've forgotten to put in, and whether or not I'm repeating words or using redundant words like that. And that is all they do. If they read something, because I have 2 editors at the moment, my daughter's one of them from Publication Pixie, and if you are looking for editing work, then she can give you a very fair price for that. Her link is below, in the description below. But as a rule, yes, I have 2 editors, and that's what they do. And if they read it as a reader and they say, oh, hang on a minute, you know, the character at the beginning of the book had blue eyes and now he's got grey, then they'll note it as a comment, but that is all. They don't go through and expect for me to change the gender of my characters or the way they look or even my storyline. And yet I do hear that that is possible, a possible thing that you can expect from a traditionally published editor. But as I say, disclaimer, I don't know. This is anecdotal evidence I have read online. So there's all those things you want to consider. Basically, when you sign your book to a traditional publisher, you are giving away your rights. When you self-publish, you retain your rights, and that means you also retain the control over covers, blurbs, characters, the series, the plot lines, everything else, all belong to you. And as you will see, there's another video of mine coming out this week. It also means you make more money per title. But anyway, so you have to hear. Then, of course, whether you traditionally publish or self-publish, you still need to market your book. And as I mentioned earlier, that has to be whether you go through traditional marketing, traditional publishing, or self-publishing. The days of publishers coming in, you know, paying you out a huge advance, then spending a fortune on big billboards and television advertising and all that sort of thing, that doesn't happen anymore. The publishing business has definitely changed. However, the attitude towards whether or not you are a traditionally published author or an indie author have been a little bit slower to change. And it could be that you're not worried about whether or not you get an advance. You're not worried about what a publishing house might do to your work. You're not worried about putting all the work in to change the story so it fits the publishing house. Because maybe for you, you just want that sort of like that gold medal prize. That your book's been chosen by a publisher and your book's going to be published by, you know, XYZ publisher. And that is, you know, that can't be stopped. You know, I'm not going to mock that. I think that's incredible. And it's something I was too scared to go for. But I can say, as a self-publisher, I may not have that gold medal, that wow, I got published by a traditional publishing house. But what I can say is that the standards and everything for indie publishing are increasing. And I have made an income, a comfortably living income, out of my self-published work for 9 years. I get paid by Amazon every month. And all I have to do is keep writing. And, well, obviously I have to write decent stories. And I have to write stories that my readers enjoy. But that's what I wanted out of my career. So to me, I'm a success. And even if a publishing house came to me now and said, oh, we wanted the rights to Cloverleaf or the Gods Made Me Do It series or whatever else, I would have to refuse, because they are my babies. They, yeah, they mean the world to me. And plus which, the royalty rates for traditional publishers really suck in comparison to what Amazon pays me. You know, when we're talking about a difference of maybe 15% compared with 70% from Amazon, or you might get, I've heard of some, you know, even in my genre, you know, an author might get 25% royalty. I make 70% with Amazon, and I'm happy with that 70%. It's what pays my bills. So it'll give you a lot to talk about. It'll give you a lot to think about. But quite honestly, if you're looking at things from a financial perspective, then it is worth doing the hard work yourself and self-publishing. If you are looking at having your book have that prestige of being chosen by a publishing company, then indeed it's not going to matter how much money or not that you might make through it. That is what you're going to push for and achieve. And I wish you luck either way. But if you have any other questions about this, my dear friends, pop them in the comments below, because ultimately it's your choice. You know, 9 years ago, I made my choice to self-publish, and I have never doubted it, never been happier, and I'm living the dream. You know, when I was married and I had children, and we had, you know, my husband and I had 6 children between us, and I was, you know, we used to dream of the income I make now by myself, because of course my kids have grown and my marriage has been over for 8 years. But I am making the income we used to dream about, and I have the lifestyle that I used to dream about getting up when I want, going to bed when I want, eating when I want, doing what I want, and I work and write every single day, and I love it. So, indie publishing works for me. Being a self-published author is what works for me. What you have to decide, now you have finished your book, is what will work for you. But hey, don't let it take away from the fact, whatever you decide, that you have done absolutely amazing in getting your book finished. And as I tie this up, speaking of finished books, my links for Don't Judge a Prince by His Undergarments is down below, plus the link for the book I'm writing with JP Sale, which is Markov. That one's finished and up on pre-order. Yep, that's coming out on the 22nd of September 22. And I'm not quite sure for the date for when my Eradicate will come out, but it will be in September 2022, I promise you that. So if you have enjoyed this content, please hit the like and subscribe button. If you thought it was absolutely stunning and amazing, you could throw me a super thanks, because that's apparently a new thing, and that would be really awesome. But please don't feel you have to, because I'm doing this as my way of giving back. But the likes and subscribes are always awesome, because then YouTube actually thinks I'm saying something worthwhile. All comments are answered. It might take up to a week, but I promise you I do answer them. And as always, my friends, stay safe, be kind, and hug the ones you love. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.